All right, let's get started. So welcome back to class. Um, so I'm gonna give you a preview of what I want to end up doing today. It's a relatively simple exercise, but just give me a preview. So in your assessments to come in time, one of them being the major project is like putting together like a magazine and such. But seeing as last week in the lecture we had gone through things like typography and typeface and fonts, and we mentioned a little bit on font pairing, I figure it'd be good to combine what we've learned in that sense to some of what we've already done before. So in our previous exercises, we've done things like composition. We understand about layers. And we also looked at combining. We did masking and all those other things too. So we're just going to be creating like a simple mock-up. And I guess I'll just use the same topic, like about animals and such. So some of the things that we'll be going through is, thinking about your color scheme and also doing like text wraps around your images. So right now, the way this text wrap works is very dynamic in the sense that if I did move the wolf, the text updates for me on the fly. So we'll be doing that too.
So I don't know if it's me. I don't know if it's me alone, but you're in and out. In and out.
In and out already. Wow. All right. So here's what I'm going to attempt. I'm going to stop the recording because I'm recording from my computer. So I'm not sure if that's any better. Same problem?
Yeah, same problem.
You'd have to continue talk so we can tell you if you're still here.
Okay, no problem. So what we're going to do is we're going to start a new file, and then we're going to go through the steps of this. So first thing is that we'd want to get an image of our main subject. So maybe as an animal that you prefer. I'm working with the wolf. I'm just going to redo this just to kind of go through the steps. And like last class, some of the images that we're going to be pulling from is from the website pexels.com. So with pexels, yes. So I got myself a wolf picture like this. Oh, still choppy. All right. Well, what I can do is at least upload the recording to Moodle in case of anything. But I'm hoping you can at least see the visuals. So we're going to start a new file. So we're back in Affinity, which we started looking at last week. So hopefully you managed to download it already. And I'm going to start with a new file. So I'm going to keep this one up, but I'm going to start with a new file. So I'm going to go to File and New. By the way, is this display too small? Do you want to change the resolution? All right, we'll continue. So
Yes, sir. You can change it.
change it. Okay, let me start real quick. Any better?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Not sure if that helped, but okay. All right, so first things first is we want to get ourselves the size. And if I'm imagining this to be something that could be used for a magazine, I could, well, I'm going to go to page sizes and I'm going to look for like a letter size. So from the letter size, just check your preset orientation, whether it's going to be portrait or landscape. I'm going to be working with landscape. And again, because I'm set to print, it already has the preset for the DPI being 300. And then we can kind of go in and adjust a few things. So one of them is transparent background. So you might be using the transparent background from when we use Photo P. You can click here if you want. And anything else that you might look at, image placement and other things, multi-page. If you want to work with multiple pages, you could do that too. But there's another format, or rather mode, that Affinity can go into for that. So we don't have to check that right now. So we go down and choose create document. And I'll put this in pixel mode. Well, pixel mode. All right, so it already gives us a setup where we have a border that we can work with. It's giving us a 1-inch border around the edges. If that's too thick, we can go on the document setup, and perhaps we like a safe space or a safe area of about a 1/4 inch around. So 0.25, 0.25, oops, 0.25, 0.25, and I'll have this one be 0.3. I press OK. All right. Damien's having issues with the download. Are you at the right site?
Mute.
No, I'm seeing in the chat, Damien is having issues with getting the download. All right, I'm going to continue as much as I can. So first things first is to get the subject that you'll be talking about, just as a quick way of laying out things. So I went on Pixels and I got this wolf. So you can either download it or you can right click, copy image, then go back to Affinity and right click, paste, or edit and paste. So I get sent in, and we can scale this up. Our next step is to mask out the background, or mask the subject. So we can use the select brush tool or the flood select tool, or we can use the object selection tool. Now, if it's the first time you're using the object selection tool, it will ask you to download some kind of a machine learning bit. So don't be afraid to download that one. But when you hover over any area, it will detect what to select. And all you do is just click. And it will select your subject for you. Once that's done, we can mask. But before we mask, especially when it comes to before we mask, sometimes you have subjects that have fur, like, or hair, and you wouldn't mind if you could get some of that done more professionally. So while this is in selection mode, you have something that allows you to refine your mask. So if you want to refine your mask with the selection, you go to pixel, you go to pixel selection, and then you're going to go to where it says refine edges. Done that. And you can scroll wheel in, and it gives you a preview of how things will be. So we can look at the fur and even like draw over the edges here. And I'll try to make a better selection for you. If we have fur top here.
Sir,
Yes.
I don't believe the class is being recorded. I think I heard it stopped. Is it being recorded?
I'm recording from my computer. I was thinking that my recording might be contributing to the bandwidth drop. So that's why I'm recording from my computer instead of uploading to the
Okay.
cloud. I'll upload it afterwards. All right. Oops. So fur. So with the refine selection, you can actually refine your selections. So even if the software kind of gets some things, you can go in and get some more. So I'm just to feather a bit too, 10 pixels, and just get some of this top fur here, and it will try to select those furs that I've selected, right? So when I'm finished, I press apply and then hit the mask button. At least get some of that fur in there. It's not 100% perfect, but it gets what we need. And we can always go back and refine it by using our brush tool while we're selecting the mask. And remember that white is to show and black is to hide. So you can just go in and tidy that up at you. And I can switch this around to black and, you know, kind of hide off with other bits. All right, so now we have our wool. Now I'll set this somewhere about here, and I'll reduce the size. So let's assume, well, few things we want. We want the title of our page. So we're talking about a wolf particularly a gray wolf. So we mentioned about font pairing before. And if you have a particular font that you want to be the heading, you could say, for example, I like the idea of using one called Montserrat, M-O-N Serrat. It has a lot of, that's the typeface, and then there's a lot of fonts for it. So I'll just choose for right now, bold. I'm gonna click, and I'll call this one Gray Wolf. And I'll increase the size, something big enough, about that, or bigger. Even scale this out if I want to. And another font that could work with this is one called Blockland. But I had previously looked for Blockland because I had that font. You might not have those same fonts, but you can do a quick search for the font or the typeface name, Blockland, and just say font pairing. And you'll get a suggestion as to which font or which typeface works along with it. So it says it's a bold and playful block display font, pairs best with clean, minimalistic, or modern type fonts. So it will give you some suggestions, one of them being Montserrat. So I have both of them. You might choose something else. So if you're good with Arial Black, you might prefer something else. If you're going for a more playful typeface. So I will go with Grey Wolf. And then I will do like a subheading in the other typeface, which is the Blockland typeface. So you have two different types of type tools. You have artistic text tool and you have frame tool. We're going to be using both in this example. So click that, click, and just say cooperative game hunter. Game, not meaning like playing games, but like game as in, you know, gaming animals. Or I could just go with cooperative hunter. And then I'll change this typeface to Blockland. B-L-O, Blockland. I'll just reduce the size a bit. Or maybe just about as wide as that for balance. All right. So one thing that would help this out is if we had the colors matching our subject. So this wolf is kind of brown, kind of, you know, golden brown, some grayer patches. So we could actually change the font color to one of these colors here. So click here. And I'm going to be using the eyedropper tool, or you could just change the color right up here. So you have font color, you click it, and you have an eyedropper here, where you can actually click on that, drag it through, find an area that you actually like. Say you do like that same golden look. Once that's selected, you're done. And then this one, I'll make this a little lighter. So I'll click on the font color, drag this through, somewhere more golden. And we have these two colors. If they're two both could put black outlines. I could. But I'm going for something that's crisp and minimalistic. I guess I could show you what they would both look like if one had a black outline. So if you remember how to duplicate, if you hold on Alt on the keyboard and drag down, you make a duplication of the what you just clicked. And then I could add an outline to this. So right here, we have our colors. But also, you select this. Right here, you have set foreground, you have set background. One of these represents, at least for text, is the outline. So you click here. And then you set a black outline. You could do that there. And selecting this. Color, there we are, in color. The color tab, you can increase or choose what color we want it to be, and also the outline. And if you prefer doing it with the layer styles, you just go to where it says Effect, choose Outline, give your outline a radius. And if you want it to be outside or inside, or even center, it really matters what you prefer. So, I mean, outside probably works best here, which is good, which is fine. For now, I'll work with the one that has no outline. And then the next thing is getting ourselves some information about this wolf, right? So you go look up for gray wolves, you find out something about them. So you say, all right, wolf. You can go to Wikipedia or wherever. So I'll choose this one, gray wolf. Or I could just take the information from what I had before. Gray wolves here. I'll just double click. Select it all by pressing Ctrl A and pressing Ctrl C to copy. Come back over here. And what we want is, rather than the text tool that we had used before, which is just the artistic text tool, we will use the frame text tool. You click on that, you draw yourself an area where you want the text to fit, and we can paste the information in. If you had more information, let's say for example I borrow some of these, like today gray wolves have made a notable comeback in several regions. Alaska remain widespread, etc., etc. Or I could go for this one, gray wolves, such and such and such, right? So right after that, I'll just right click and paste that information. And I guess one thing you notice here is that the information actually stops right there. So I'm going to show you how you can resolve that. But first, we're going to look at how to make the font wrap around your image. So right now, this is our image, our wolf. And right now the text is on top of it, which is not very good. So if you want to solve that problem where your text goes around your image, what you can do is you can select your text. You can also select your image, which is holding down Shift, clicking on your image. Then up top you have text. And further down to the bottom, you have text wrap. And it will ask you to show your text wrap settings. And I mean, if you've used Word before, this option also exists. So you might see some of these like none, which is by default. You have jump, where the text will jump away from the image. You have square, where based on where the image actually, the bounding area of the image is, it's going to stop there. And you have tight, which is what we're looking for. Tight wraps around the image just enough. And you can also set the distance from the text. So even though you might have it as tight, you could actually set things to, say, for example, you said 0.5 to the left, right? Then it would shift from there if you want more space between them. Other options you have, especially if you want to do things where you want the text to be shaped out in the form of your subject, you have inside too. So if it's inside image, and I see just showing a few of them here, that's also a possibility. So I'll go with tight for now. I'll put the left at 0.25 and I'll hit close. So just checking if we're visually okay so far. I might be chipping in and out. All right. All right, so the other thing is we do have some more text, but we're not seeing it because it's gotten cut off. And you'll see these little dots that indicate that there's more text, but you can't see it. So what we can do is we can add another one of these frame text tools. We can use that tool again, draw another area, say about here, like so. And then you can actually link the two. So for example, you want to continue this over here, you can click on this button and choose where you want to continue from. And then it shows you a link between those two boxes. And it also has the same properties. So you'll see that the text itself is wrapping around the wolf too. So what I will do, just to make sure I can fit everything, is I'm going to reduce the size, the font size a bit, selecting all of that. And I'm just going to drop my font size here. Yeah, about that. Mind you, this feels really small, so I'll also check the leading, the spacing between the lines. And if I go with default, that's the size I get. I'd want something a bit more readable, so I could even go for like, say, 13 or 14. Right? So that's one way of working that. All right. You can go in, you can edit your text and things like that. So you can break down your text if you need to. And if you want to, you can highlight areas. So gray wolves, canis lupus. We'll put this for bold. And put in like, just highlight those important facts that you'd like to stand out for them. You know, travel up to 30 miles a day. Right? Those in family groups. Bold. And sensor smell 100 times stronger. You can see than humans. Right? So other little areas too. Or in other little things I might want to highlight. Now, right now, my background is transparent. And I mean, granted, when you print it out, it's not going to be transparent. But for the visuals, it will be good to see a white background. So two ways we can go about doing that. We can either use a rectangle tool, that's white. And just draw an area that fits. And place that one below everything else. All right. Now let's assume I left it like this. Maybe I like on the other side, like I have over here, you know, some did you know facts or something. Right? So I could create something like this too, like a did you know. So you can do a did you know on the right side. You can use a rectangle tool, or we can use a rounded rectangle tool if you want it to be a softer. So I'll pull something like this. Did you know? Just keeping it simple. Having the color similar to one of these two. I'll probably go with the lighter one. Make the text about the darker one, but then I'm going to drop the opacity of this one here, so the text comes out a bit clearer. So artistic, so let's say did you question, change the 10, the font color to this one, and also reduce the size of the text. Now this probably looks really hard to see, which is fair. So for this color, I'm going to change the opacity of the layer by changing it right here. Layers, opacity, this current one selected. I'll just drop that down to about 50. So it's easier to see the text. And then I can have like a fun fact like the one that is already there in this pre-cooked one. Gray wolves are typically made for life. Breeding pair of wolves leading a pack of their offsprings who stick with them for about 2 to 3 years. So I'll just double click this, copy it, bring it over to here. And I'll use the frame text tool. Now, because I already have this here, it's going to assume I'm trying to type inside it. So because I don't have any text in there right now, I can just delete it. And then frame text tool, let's draw an area where I want the text to be. Please place it in. And for the text, here's what I'll do. I'll probably elongate this. And for the text as well, let me hide this a little bit. Text here, just drag this down a bit. And for this, just bring this back up. I'm going to put this behind this box, behind the image of the wolf. So let's bring that down below the wolf. And so the wolf is on top of that. And if I wanted to, I could say, you know what, let it kind of stick up on the page, the edge of the page, like so. Did you know And let's do something like a Zoology 101 as like, you know, whatever the thing is about. So I'll just say, you know what? Zoology 101. I make this Montserrat font. Montserrat. So different types. You can just look through and see which one works best. So regular, but I'll make the font smaller. I'll also put it in a text box or a box. So I'll just go to the rectangle tool. Turn this up like so. Set that box behind the text. And also drop the opacity to 50. So if ever you're interested in creating like an article, you can do things like designs like this. Simple enough, feels professional, and it's not like you have to do too much because all we have is text using font pairing or typeface pairing, font pairing, and then different different elements. We'll just keep the overall theme. So do you think it's something that you could manage to do within the next hour? All right, so I think the part that might be, well, it depends, might be hard to remember, or you want to remember, is especially when it comes to wrapping things around. That gives a nice creative feel to your text. Rather than just things being in a rectangle, you could have it around your image. So, I don't know, choose an animal of your choice and find some interesting facts about it and just create a page kind of like this. You don't have to go with brown. I just went with brown because the wolf is brown. If you have like, I don't know, a crocodile, a parrot, you could use like, if it's like a macaw, vivid reds and blues, you can use those two colors in there. So have the same theme as your animal. But I'll be here. So in case anybody forgets anything, I can at least be here to, you can share your screen and I can help guide you through it. All right. Okay. So what I'll do is just stop the recording I'm working with and then see if I can upload that there for you.